national title good.
I think that'd be cool. All right, bring it on in. Hello, everybody. Midweek edition, Daily Ticket coming to you. Ready to go. We got a lot to discuss on our plates, of course, in the NBA, college hoops, front and center. Eagles still reliving the glory that was Super Bowl 59. Release all the videos. They're getting so, yeah, I see your cap, baby. I see your cap. Damn right. We are going to let you know where we're going to be on Friday. We locked all of that in, and we're excited. We're excited Friday because we are going to be doing a day-night doubleheader with the Gambler Gang. Joining me on this edition of the Daily Ticket, a man who caught a little bit of a snooze yesterday. Hysterical. Mark Henry Jr., who, if you listen to the Daily Ticket, I said, all right, we're going to get into Super Bowl 59. Mark has been just fired up to talk, hasn't got it off his chest, and he's going to do so coming up in a 5 o'clock hour. Boom, 5 o'clock comes, and I'm texting him and nothing. Now, here's full disclosure. Mark has a real job where he is constantly on the move, constantly called, and it's happened before where I was like, no big deal. Like, roll with the punches. You got called into work, no big deal. And it still isn't a big deal, but he didn't get called into work. He got called into bed. He snoozed on the couch, got a nice cat nap yesterday, as we all need at this point in time of the week after these past few weeks. So great to have you today, man. We're just going to wind you back up and dive right into that. But, man, good snooze yesterday, huh? Did you drool a little bit?
I can't believe it. My wife stayed home sick she's a teacher. She stayed home sick from school. We went out crazy on Sunday night with some friends in Conchi and just at a friend's house. And, the Tito's was flowing. And I almost feel like I had like a second day hangover. And maybe it's her being sick and laying around the house all day. But we were watching something. And next thing, it's like 2:30. We're watching something on the couch. Next thing I know, I'm waking up. My wife's cooking dinner at 6:30. I look at my phone. I get a text from Brace that just says Gmail. And I'm like, oh, no, that was an hour and a half ago. It wasn't like I woke up at like 5:20 or like 6 o'clock, like full 4-hour hangover snooze there. I'm not a napper either. So I unbelievable. And Mrs. Henry not waking me up, that's a conversation for another day, but drop the ball.
Yeah, it's all right. Like I said, man, we could all use a little bit of a breather at this point in time. And, no rest for the wicked. Great stories coming out about with the Eagles team getting home. And a couple met the Sixers game last night. I feel for them having to make the trip down there and watch that trek. But Zach Bond said, man, I got to get the body right for Friday. So they know what's coming. Of course, we all know what's coming. It's going to be a heck of a day on Valentine's Day on Friday. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about our upcoming parade festivities, but we're going to be in the middle of it all. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. Let's go ahead and dive into Super Bowl 59 though, man. And where are you at right now reliving the glory day? Where are you at with I think you're in a similar spot with me where it's like the videos can't get enough. Behind the scenes, I saw you quote Lane Johnson before the game started. That was an awesome quote that, we were just privy to with the inside access there. The first time I was hearing it, first time you were hearing it. So really cool stuff there. But where are you at right now on this post-parade or post-Super Bowl victory, pre-parade vibes here on a Wednesday?
Yeah, I couldn't be feeling better. And, everybody's going to compare it to the 2018 title, and with it happening in such a short period of time, it's understandable. And I think for a lot of people, it's just different. It's so different. That first title was, it almost felt like a celebration of the city, kind of, and it was this first, and this feels like these are our guys. Whereas that one, it had a bunch of our guys on it, no doubt about it. But it kind of cropped up out of nowhere, and we were excited about it happening when Wentz was playing. But then Wentz gets hurt, and some of us gave up on the season a little bit at that point. And then that ride was such an underdog run. This was a little different, whereas these guys almost all came through the draft or came through great additions by Howie in the offseason the last couple years. And it just feels like we watched this kind of era build from like the ground up, and this was kind of what we were waiting for 2 years ago, last year, and we finally got there. And now that we're tasting it, now that we're here, you'd be hard pressed not to think about the fact that this is the second youngest team in the NFL. This is a team that everyone thinks this when they win, but what's stopping this team from doing it again next year and from doing this again maybe a couple times over the next decade?
It's the way you got to view it, right? It's the way that Brady views it. It's the way that these great quarterbacks, and that's where it starts and ends for me. We have a great quarterback, a great leader, real deal culture, Mark. Like yesterday, the tone for me was Appreciation Tuesday, and I'll even tee you up on that one because I would love to know where your brain goes. And with that being said, you can't send a shout out to Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, Vic Fangio, and the rest is up to you, though. But Appreciation Tuesday for the Eagles season, whatever it may be, I would love to hear who you would send it out to as you were going to join me yesterday. But one of the things that I spoke about, and it was Jalen Hurts for me. Like I woke up and just put a big smile on my face just thinking about how good he looks with the trophy in his hand and how much hard work and people that doubted him. Like, look, all these quarterbacks have to go through the crossroads. I get it. But, for the most part, I don't think many people are doubting Joe Burrow. He got to a Super Bowl, understood. I don't think many people are doubting Josh Allen up until the point that he just lost to Patrick Mahomes yet again, right? But if it's not Patrick Mahomes, nobody's doubting him. Lamar's awesome. Lamar's unbelievable. Lamar's going to go down as a historical quarterback, but he does struggle at times in the postseason. Still, though, I feel like he gets the benefit of the doubt. Jalen has significant doubters, people that won't budge. And he proved all of them wrong. Even today, Mark, I turned on ESPN and two people had to catch themselves saying like, oh no, he is the best quarterback. Yeah. When you win the Super Bowl, you own that. You are the best quarterback in the game, bar none. You want to argue stats and analytics? That's not for now. That's not this week. That's not today. That's down the road. You'll get your time. But right now, Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFL. That's it. And like these people they almost be like, I guess I have to say, no, it's the truth. So long-winded, when you start talking about doing it again, it starts with Jalen Hurts and the culture that he is setting. Like it hit me yesterday. I was doing a Google search. Jeffrey Lurie said it 2 years ago, heading into the season. Jalen Hurts is the culture setter, and he's here. He's the one that's keeping everybody moving in the right direction. He's the one that's attracting Saquon Barkley coming. Yeah, sure. He wanted to play for Philadelphia because they win. Howie Roseman said all the right things. I'm sure you mean to tell me there weren't 10 other teams that called Saquon's agent? Yeah, you're damn right they did. But he wanted to play with Jalen Hurts, man. So when you say do it again, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, it's I was looking up what the Jalen Hurts quote was when you brought that up. He doesn't set the temperature in the room; he's the thermostat. Was that what it was? That was a couple of years ago.
Was that Jeffrey Lurie?
That was Jalen a couple of years ago. He tries to be. He said that to Michael Irvin, and then Michael Irvin went and ran with it. And then I think someone asked Jalen. I think Jalen said Irvin misquoted him, or it was a whole thing. But I do think that there's some truth to it, and I've actually, and obviously what you said is going to be out there. There's people catching themselves and being like, oh, I guess I have to say this about Jalen for sure. I've actually been pleasantly surprised at the way that most of the national people I've heard are just like, yes, the top 5 guy. Like there's no debate now. And I'll give Chris Klemmer from Barstool credit of all people. But I've had him on my show, and he was heavy on Kansas City, betting on them. And is one of the big reasons was the quarterback and how he still didn't trust Jalen. And he was still pretty negative on Jalen the weeks leading into the Super Bowl. And he's tweeting after the game. He's like, yeah, you could Mahomes is obviously in a class of his own, even after this game. You can take Lamar, Burrow, and Josh out of the conversation. There is nobody else on the planet who I even want to hear mentioned in the same sentence as Jalen Hurts. Don't give me Jared Goff. Don't give me Justin Herbert. Don't give me CJ Stroud. Don't give me Dakota Prescott. Don't give me Kyler Murray, who John Jansen ranked above Jalen in the offseason. Don't give me Brock Purdy, who John Jansen ranked above Jalen Hurts in the offseason.
Oh, come on.
And a ton of these names. Don't bring any of these names in my kitchen when it comes to talking about Jalen Hurts. But this is going to be like a bit of a funny way. everybody knows I struggled throughout the year. And first of all, I'll say this. Everybody knows I'm a Jalen guy. I'm a Jalen rider. I've went through the wars online. If you go in at 5, 6 a.m. on a Monday when I'm flying to an airport, you can probably see
In the
me
mud.
getting in the mud on Twitter, and it's always about Jalen and people disrespecting Jalen. Once upon a time, that was Joel for me. And Jalen's kind of taken over that mountain over the last couple of years of a guy that I'll defend till the end of the earth. I'll go to war for that guy. That's a guy who I believe in. And I texted this to Sean Bernard, and I hate to air out our guy Joel like that. But the difference between Jalen and Joel is Jalen's never made me feel stupid about the way that I believe in him, and has never made me question my beliefs, and has never made me feel like is this not the guy? Even last year, I never doubted this was the guy, and he's more the guy than ever. And it's so nice to see people finally accept that. And what I will say is, everybody knows I struggled a little bit with some of the Saquon stuff throughout the year, with him being the entire story of the team and him being the MVP, and every Eagles conversation having to revolve around Saquon. But I can't lie, I feel more justified in that point than ever. Saquon went 25 for 57 in the Super Bowl, and we repeat Chiefs by 100 because Jalen's that good, AJ's that good, Devontae's that good, Goddard's that good. We have the best O-line in the sport. We've got the best defense I've ever seen. I wasn't cognizant for the 2000 Ravens. I was 4 years old, so I can't speak intelligently about that Ravens defense. Over the last 20 years that I can speak to, what that team just did to Patrick Mahomes on the biggest stage, I think clinches them as the best defense I've ever seen. And not to mention putting up 40 on the other side of things. But I just think I couldn't be happier. And obviously I am grateful to what Saquon did, getting 8 billion yards in the playoffs before the Super Bowl. But for the game to have went the way it did, almost allowed it to be about Jalen. And as much as I love Saquon now and have gotten over any of those thoughts about people trying to make the whole season about him, I'm almost happier, given the fact that we were going to win the game no matter what. I'm almost happier that he had the game he did to allow the game to be about Jalen, because so much of the season, so much of the postseason, rightfully so, was about Saquon Barkley. That NFC Championship and that Super Bowl got to be about Jalen, and I think he kind of cemented himself nationally because of that.
Yeah, Saquon had those home runs, and it's just would steal it. Like when we're talking about what's the one play from the run, like what's the Patrick Robinson pick six, what's the strip sack, what's the Philly special that you're going to go back on. And from the standpoint of the championship game, like, it's got to be the first carry. Saquon 60 yards to the house. Super Bowl is a different monster, but if you're going to talk about anything from the playoff run to the Super Bowl, maybe it's one of those Rams runs.
Smack in the head.
Yeah, but the Super Bowl, it was straight up either for me, the Devontae Smith pass, which was just a thing of beauty, slowed down, perfect spiral on the money, and the ultimate nail in the coffin. But some might say the Cooper DeJean was the nail in the coffin. That was too many points, and that's when the train started rolling. So I'm not here to argue. I think we could pin it down to both of those plays. You could pick one, whatever hits you more, but both of them are really special. And, when we start talking about Jalen getting his shine and what he's capable of, like, it's the people around him. It's the culture. It's the real deal. Like, these guys, you don't just win a Super Bowl by having like one or two good players. You got to have a great team. You don't win multiple Super Bowls without having a great franchise. And we know the Eagles are very capable of showing what they've been showing us since 2017. This is an unbelievable run. And last year, man, it started off so good and like it just fell apart at the seams. But even then, we all knew that they were a better team. So where we're at right now, I do feel great about. I don't even know what the odds are. They better be favored to win it all, right?
They're right there. I think they were like plus 600 or plus 700. And I really think we all talk so much about last year and the collapse.
They are favored over the Chiefs 6-1.
Yeah.
Chiefs are 7-1.
I saw they were like either tied before, or I think it was maybe that 100-point gap. But I think that we all talk about that collapse, and sometimes I think we might we give the offense too much of the blame for that collapse. That
yeah.
I remember the last half of the year, they gave up more yards passing and more touchdowns than any team had ever given up in any 8-game stretch. They were 31st in pass yards per game, but they were only not 32nd because they were decent the first half of the year. So that second half of the year, I think the defense just collapsed beyond belief towards the end of that Desai run. And then you fire the defensive coordinator and put Patricia in there. I think so much of that, and of course, Jalen had a couple turnovers here and there. I think that's just naturally when your defense is giving up 30 to 40 points every game. You feel like you have to make bigger plays, and you feel like you have to get it all back at once sometimes, and you can't be patient. You can't play your game. You can't run the system, and it's going to hurt the offense. The running game also dipped. DeAndre Swift was not as good in the second half of the year, but I really think that so much of that it had to do with the fact that you had the worst secondary in football and you couldn't stop a nosebleed in the running game either. So I think that's so much of just the collapse to this year. You just have to give the credit to Howie and Coop and Quinyon and Nolan progressing the way he did. And obviously a guy who I think should now be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I think should get his own statue outside of the link is Vic Fangio. I mean, what he did in that Super Bowl, not a single blitz. He didn't do anything outside of, I think it was Jordan Rodriguez and Nick Shook from NFL Network who talked about it, but he did what he's done for 20 years, cover 4 quarter shells, not blitzing. Like, it's not like Vic Fangio came up with some, some crazy idea, some crazy scheme, something that he found on tape and was like, ooh, this is how I beat Patrick Mahomes. No, he did what he's always done. But now he's got Howie Roseman picking the dudes and shopping for the groceries for him and putting the defense together. And I think this just showed what an absolute force Vic Fangio is. And I was critical of Vic Fangio after the first 4 weeks. I was so excited when we hired Fangio. This is the guy. This was our golden goose all these years. This was our white whale. We've hired how many Fangio disciples or guys who run the Fangio scheme? And the fact that we were able to get the guy who created it in, I thought it was going to be such a home run. But then after those first 4 weeks, you're sitting around. There's no pass rush. You're like, where is this Fangio defense that I was expecting to see?
Yep.
And it happened right from there. And you could point to DeJean coming in. Obviously, him not starting the year definitely had an impact. But people say that Fangio scheme does take a little bit to learn and to perfect. And you saw that bye week. And we all complained about the early bye week early in the offseason. Turned out to come at the right time. They needed that bye week after they struggled to start the year, learned the defensive system, and came out, never looked back.
That's well said. You're right, because I remember going, in a perfect world, I'd rather a few more weeks. It's really early, but man, looking back on the season and taking that into future years, that's definitely going to be a talking point. Hey, hold up. Zach Bond too, and I know you're not forgetting him, but I want to, bring him up and just the season that he has had. Like sure the Quinyon, the Cooper DeJean, like that changed, but man, like I don't know if any of this is possible without Zach Bond having the season that he had on defense. Like, wow, what an ace he was. What a grab. Like, where did that come from the standpoint of like, all right, here's a guy we see on tape, pretty good, but you know what? We're going to put him into this system in this spot, and he's going to play at an all-pro level. Like, I know that could never have been a thought in their mind, like, he's going to be the best man at that position this year. No. Is he, just an incredible athlete? His story is insane. Coming from Wisconsin, knows how to play the position. Didn't really get the opportunity down in New Orleans. Looked himself in the mirror because, like, there was a question when he was on the All-Pro show this year where they were like, what goes on in your mind? Because, these guys are the best football players that our high school has ever seen. These guys are all state. Yep. Then they go to Wisconsin. I think he was like Big Ten off defense. It's like, then he goes to the pros and he can play special teams and that's it. And it's like, you could blame everybody. Zach Bond did not. He was like, man, there was a part of me that like, you got to get better. I looked myself, challenged myself, and I found an opportunity in Philly. And dude, like sky's the limit for that, man. Like you just look at what TJ Edwards has been able to do in Chicago, still making a name for himself. Who's the other linebacker that was good a few years ago, way back, like 10 years. He just retired. He went to the Cardinals.
Kendricks? Not
No,
Kendricks.
it will come to me. But like,
Yeah.
you play for Philly, you raise your level up, and you get paid. And I don't know if Zach's going to be here next year. I hope, but at the end of the day, you know how it works. Like this is what it's all about. These guys raise their game, and when you win as a team collectively, that's when the solo accolades come, and specifically, contracts come. So, dude, like, go get that money, Zach. But of course, we want him back. What a year he had.
You cannot let him leave the building. I don't care what it takes. You have to figure out a way. He's the number one
They got
priority.
money.
If you got to let everybody else walk of the free agents, you let them walk so you can sign Zach Bond.
But you know how he treats that position, though, right? Like
yeah, it's a concern.
he didn't even offer TJ money, which was crazy. Like TJ was like, "Yo, I wanted to stay," and he didn't even offer him.
At the Jason Kelsey late night show, it was a couple weeks ago.
Saw that.
How he did make a point to be like, hopefully Zach Bond remembers that in negotiations. So
Yeah.
I think him even mentioning that is a good sign. That's like next level chess, me reading into that. But I think that I think him even mentioning that is a good sign. I think Howie also the one thing I'll say about Howie, and I want to make a point about the Bond thing, but Howie is very consistent. When Howie succeeds with a guy, when a guy makes Howie look smart, Howie rewards those guys. Like when Howie lands a pick, when Howie hits a free agent signing, like AJ Brown got the 3-year $96 million re-up. Like Howie has an incredibly high rate of signing his guys to next contracts if they're not busts. If you go back and look through all the guys he's given second contracts, there's a couple guys who I think are going to break that. Like Milton Williams is going to break that mold. He's just going to get too much money. Mekhi Becton, big success, found him out of nowhere a little bit, but not out of nowhere. He's a first round pick, but off the scrap heap. I think he's gone. I think he's going to get too much money, but I do think Howie realizes how incredible of a find Zach Bond was. And to toot his own horn and to toot Vic Fangio's horn, because he was incredibly involved in finding him and thinking that he could play that different position than he'd ever really played before. But obviously, and I've been working on something. I don't know if it's going to be with Shane Half or who it'll be with. I'm working on something with the top 10 moves that Howie Roseman made that led to the Super Bowl. And it's hard. It's really hard because you got to individualize them. I don't want to combine Quinion and Cooper, their own moves. So it becomes hard. It's hard to look away from Jalen and AJ and Sirianni and Fangio and the big level kind of things. But it's easy for us to give Howie the credit for taking Jalen Carter. It's easier for us to give him the credit for taking a Nolan Smith or a Quinion Mitchell who fell to them in free agency. It's easy to give him credit for trading for AJ Brown or signing Saquon Barkley, whatever you want to say. But working on the margins is really the incredible part of this team and what Howie's done with this team. You look at a guy like Zach Bond, finding him where they found him. You look at a guy like Jalix Hunt, finding Jalix Hunt where they found him and him stepping up. Reed Blankenship stepping into being a legitimate good starting safety in the NFL, finding him out of nowhere. Moro Ojomo, 7th rounder, is out there playing legit snaps in the Super Bowl. I mean, Mekhi Becton, I already mentioned him, but bringing him in and switching his positions. Cam Jurgens and Dickerson, both guys who people thought were overdrafted a little bit for where the Eagles took them, especially value position wise. And they both come in and, in incredibly important parts of the Super Bowl. Even Jahan Dotson, a guy that Howie kind of got some flack for throughout the seasons for trading a 3rd-round pick for a guy who didn't make a ton of an impact. That was the second time all year that he had 2 first downs in a game, Jahan Dotson. But he did it on the most important stage, and no one's ever going to say that trade wasn't worth it, because on the first drive of the game that we scored on, Jahan Dotson had the biggest play. So, it's just they really have smoked the ball out of the park when it comes to not just big level, the quarterback, the best pass rusher, the skill positions, but working the margins to find these guys who the last couple starters, the top couple reserves on the roster. And it's been incredible to see how he's done the last couple of years in the draft, especially obviously free agency as well. But that what Howie's done in the last couple of years and what everyone watched him do, that defensive line do in the Super Bowl, should end the Myles Garrett conversation. I'm so sick of hearing the name Myles Garrett. This team just won a Super Bowl because of how good we've done in the draft, because of how incredible our young players on defense from the first and second round are. So we're going to go trade our next 2 first-round picks for Myles Garrett? I don't get it. Let's keep doing what we've been doing. It's been working. We've 3 Super Bowls in 8 years. Keep making.
But what if Howie does it? Then what are you saying?
If Howie does it, I'll respect Howie's ability to be able to make things work, and maybe he has other moves where he's picking up picks of trading his own. And if that happens, I'll kind of sit back and say, you know what, I'm shocked. But if Howie does it, I trust him. It's hard not to trust him at this point. But I don't think we're going to even be in the conversation. I really don't.
I don't think that's going to be the case either, unless Myles Garrett makes a deal and says, I just want to play for those guys, whatever it may be. But because I don't know how it's going to work with him and that contract. And of course, it's a trade, so it takes 2 to tango to get that deal done. But yeah, if you told me to put a percentage on it, I'd probably say 95%. It's not going to happen, but still would be fun to have Myles Garrett on the defensive side of the ball, knowing how damn good he is. Regardless, Eagles are in a great position. And have you looked at the mock draft? I saw one yesterday.
This year, I hate this draft personally. I think it's the worst draft we've had in a half decade, maybe. I really do think it's whenever that Malik Willis draft was, that was not a great draft either. But I think this one might be even a little weaker after the top 5 to 10. I just think go look at 5 mock drafts and the guys going between 7 and 32, you'll get 50 guys, and you'll get guys in one draft going 7 that aren't in another mock. A name that comes to mind with that is James Pierce, edge rusher from Tennessee, guy I love. I think he's a top 5 pick. I think he's closer to Abdul Carter than he is to whatever the 3rd best edge rusher in the draft class is. And there's rumors. I think Daniel Jeremiah had him like 45th on his top 50. I think there were some other mock drafts that had him, I think, going 32nd to the Eagles, or maybe even falling out of the first round. He's a guy I have in my personal top 5. I think this is going to be a year where my rankings that I stack up are more different than ever from the consensus industry rankings. So either I know ball at a high level, or I'm way off this year. And I've had years where I've hit at a really high level, had years where I've missed more than others. Could be either one, but I'm shocked at the variety of rankings I'm seeing. I'm not talking about Travis Hunter or Will Johnson, the top couple guys, but outside of those top couple guys, I'm shocked at the variance.
We got some time, so we will dive deep into the draft, of course, especially with the week leading up to the combine, which is right around the corner, and the weeks leading up to the draft. But there are some names. Genty's a name. Of course, you got Shador, the top guys, which will catch some attention, right? I think that's going to be striking a chord with a lot of like average Joe fans, maybe, that don't really care too much about the draft. Where Deion's kid plays, I think, is going to be an eye-popping move. The Giants, if they do draft a quarterback, I think that's going to catch some attention. To point out James Pierce, the one mock draft that I pulled up yesterday was Field Yates, who's got a few years at
great. I love Field.
helping out teams. So he speaks from experience. But James Pierce, number 19, on the Tampa Bay Bucks. And then I brought it up because I wanted to know. Look, to me, and I'm just spitballing here, but I do believe like the Kansas City Chiefs hit on a few of their like late picks, those 32, have traded up in years past. So I think of course there's value there. You're not able to trade up the top 10. You can only do so much, but the second round is a fresh new round. There's going to be great talent there. So essentially you are the top dog when it comes to day 2. Right now, the Eagles are currently locked into Jahad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama.
They're not going to take a linebacker. Every year we see mocks do that, where they give the Eagles a linebacker in the first round, and I'm like, you don't get it. But I think it's probably a D lineman. I think it's probably everyone's going to focus on edge rusher. I wouldn't be shocked if it's a D tackle. And there's a couple really good D tackles in this class. And I could see that being the way that they go at 32 to replace Milton Williams a little bit. Jordan Davis doesn't play a ton of snaps. How much do you want to rely on Moro Ojomo? Do you want to continue playing Jalen Carter 95% of the snaps, or do you want to maybe get him maybe some more rest? And in the past, Eagles defenses, we rotate guys like crazy more than the rest of the league. This year, Fangio kind of switched that and kind of went, these are my guys, and I'm riding them till it's kind of, I'm Thibodeau in this.
Except for the Super Bowl, it felt like he was rotating those guys left and right.
Rotated him way more in the Super Bowl than he did all year. Way more Jalen Hunt snaps than we were expecting. Way less Nolan Smith snaps, actually, than we were expecting. Wow. Jalen Carter sat 15 snaps. I think some of those are the end of the game, but Jalen Carter did sit more snaps than you'd expect, and he was playing like every snap the weeks leading up. So I do think they look at D tackle. They will look at edge rusher. The two positions that I'll say watch out for are they could obviously go offensive tackle, and they could do we're drafting the Lane Johnson replacement. And then the other one that I'm saying watch out for, and I don't necessarily know if I like it or agree with it or how I feel about it, but I'd say tight end. Tight end is maybe a spot. Goddard hasn't played a full season in like 5 years. Really good. I mean, he was so good in that playoff run leading into the
good tight end draft too, right?
Yeah, you got Tyler Warren if you wanted to move up. You got Colston Loveland, who maybe could fall. And then you've got some interesting day two guys that you could get in the second or third round. I know Harold Fannin from a small school, I think Bowling Green. But there's a bunch of tight ends who are going to go in the top 100. Really good tight end draft. But I think you actually could save some money with a Dallas Goedert trade or a Dallas Goedert cut. They're not going to cut Goedert. It would have to be a trade. But I think you could save some money post June 1 if they wanted to do that. So, or you could kind of Howie after 2017, and maybe this is something he regrets. Maybe it's something he'll do again. Kind of ran everything back. Kind of wanted to keep as many people as humanly possible on that team. Maybe we see kind of the same thing. And Goddard, maybe if they were going to trade him and we're going to look into moving him, now they won't because they won the title. There was that clip on that Good Morning Football 4-minute video where Dallas Goedert went up to Jalen Carter and was talking about being the best in the world and how we ain't done. We'll be back here next year. So that was cool to see. But I would say keep an eye at tight end. Maybe you could convince me that they draft a corner to replace Slay, because I don't think Slay's here next year. I'd be surprised to see 2 straight first-round picks, especially considering they took DeJean in the second round. That's a lot of draft capital invested into one position in 2 years. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think it's a pretty bad corner draft outside of the top 3 corners, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think it's probably pretty likely that they're on the trenches, though.
All right. Yep. As usual, draft talk rolling right around this time of year, but we're not hitting the fast forward button on that because we got a Super Bowl parade. And of course, the conversation will roll on about the beatdown that was, man. And, one of the cool things from the game, and nobody really cared, but it's funny because I saw Julian Edlow pop it up as far as the props are concerned. And some of the player prop moneymakers for DraftKings, a courtesy of our good friend Julian Edlow, who will be on the show tomorrow, top 10. Devontae Smith, anytime touchdown, that was number one. The number one play that everybody cashed in on from the prop market in Super Bowl 59, plus 245. Wow. Devontae Smith. Number 2 was DeAndre Hopkins, plus 475, finding the end zone.
Chris Berman.
There you go. First touchdown scorer, Jalen Hurts, was 3 on the list at plus 550. Nice pop for everybody there. A.J. Brown, number 4 at plus 175. Xavier Worthy rounding out the top 5 at plus 165. How about this? Xavier Worthy, 2 touchdowns, plus 1,200. Plus 1,200, Xavier Worthy. People were on that. That was 6. 7 at plus 4,000. Cooper DeJean, anytime touchdown score.
Shout out Powers.
He had DeJean, or he just had the defense?
He had DeJean.
Because
I'm pretty sure.
The special teams, too, the return. It's a good play. It's a good play. You think about it, you're like, dude, Cooper DeJean's back there. He returns punts. He's out there. He could return. He could get you a pick. Plus 4,000. Why not take a stab at it? I never would, but plenty of people did, I guess. Jalen Hurts and Mahomes, either player, anytime touchdown, that was minus 185. That seemed like easy money there. Of course, it really wasn't because Hurts only got one touchdown. Eagles defensive special team anytime touchdown score plus 575. And Saquon Barkley, player not to score a touchdown. Wow.
What a
Plus
bet.
155. That's not worth it for me to take that at plus 155. Unbelievable.
The crazy thing about Jalen touchdown, it happened so early in the game, but Jahan was inches away from that Jalen touchdown not cashing. I probably would have lost money on the Super Bowl instead of having an incredible gambling day. But and you figure even when Jalen scored that tush push, we probably see another throughout the game, but didn't get back there. Real quick, I don't know if we're moving off the Super Bowl at all, and this is still Super Bowl related. I didn't hear your Kendrick take on the halftime. Positive, negative?
I love Kendrick.
Okay.
Right there. That's Kendrick Lamar on my wall from the Trocadero. I love Kendrick. Listen to his albums, listen to his songs. Thought the halftime show was great. That's for me. Yeah. Like we talked about it going in. I told everyone, like a lot of people said the same thing. Like there's going to be a good portion of people that are at the Super Bowl party going, what the hell is going on, man? Like,
of course,
I didn't even know the first song. I was like, what is he playing? So, look, and like, if I could be critical and with like legit criticism, I wish he mixed it up and played some of his hits. It's a Super Bowl, man. Like, get out there and bang us with with your greatest hits. He wanted to do what Kendrick normally does, and he made it a performance, and he was able to do this. And, people are still like digging these Easter eggs out like a week later, like, oh, did you see that? He's hanging from the light pole and the tarot card reading of this. And it's like, that's cool, but it's a Super Bowl halftime show. Get in, bang it, give us the flash, give us the songs. So I would have liked a couple of his other hits being played, but for me, thumbs up, loved it. I will tell you that I am pitching for next year, San Francisco. I think it's an easy one. And all you got to do is hand the keys over to John Mayer.
Oh, I thought you were going to go who John Mayer's played with, I believe, the Grateful Dead.
Yeah, Dead and Co. So
are they going to do half a song?
No, this is well, look, this is what you do. This is what you do. You say John Mayer and Friends.
Yeah.
Right?
I love John Mayer.
John Mayer, and now John Mayer can play some hip hop. He'll bring some hip hop out. He'll bring Bob Weir out, San Francisco. He'll bring Huey Lewis out. Like I'm telling you, hand the keys over to John Mayer for next year. Dead and Company, everything. It's a home run. It's a home run. But Jay-Z won't do that.
I think who it will be, and I actually think they'll be really good. I think it'll be Sabrina. I think Sabrina Carpenter's like shoehorned in to be a Super Bowl halftime person. I think she kind of falls in line with like the Rihanna. I think people don't realize how insanely huge she is. That Netflix Christmas special she did.
2 songs.
No, you're off here.
She got a spread. I'm talking about songs that people know. Because now you're getting into what is going on with Kendrick. The biggest issue with Kendrick is no one knows the songs.
I think that. Well, here's the problem. I don't think John Mayer has any Q score with anyone like 16 to 28. Like,
but it wouldn't just be John Mayer. My point is, it would be John Mayer and Friends. So he's going to bring out. He would do it. In my mind, in my thinking, he would involve San Francisco, the Bay Area. Dude,
yeah,
MC Hammer might come out on that stage.
I don't think any of the names we have brought up do anything for anyone under my age, and I'm 28. So I think that all of those, and I love John Mayer. I've seen him in concert. Like I'm in on it. He's
incredible.
But I do think you're underselling how huge Sabrina is right now with Espresso Taste, Please, Juno. She's got a couple other ones. I'm not fully there, but her concert, she's selling out like stadiums now and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like I think she's one of the biggest artists in the world at this point. And I only think she's only going to keep getting bigger. I think
she dyed her hair. I think she looked great.
Oh, well, we don't have to get into all that.
I think she looks
great. She's
I
always
think
looking
she
great.
looks better with this dark hair. I don't know what's real, what's not. Could be
But
AI. I think
anyway,
she looks better with this dark hair. That's all I know.
Man, hey, I'm in on it.
Yes. Yes.
But I will say back to the Kendrick thing. Do I wish he did King Kunta? All right,
Yeah.
Mad City. Yeah, there's a couple songs I wish he would have done. Did he have the
Money
10? What was it?
Money trees.
Money Trees. Yeah. Did he have the 10 to 12 song bangers that Rihanna or Bruno Mars or whoever you want to say was able to just come out and go number one hit, number one hit, number one hit? Maybe not. I will put that 4 to 5 minute stretch where Kendrick teased Not Like Us, didn't do it, and then came back and did Not Like Us, and then had the DJ Mustard moment with Serena. I would put that 4 to 5 minutes up there with any moment that's ever happened outside of Janet Jackson have her top ripped off at the Super Bowl.
Hello.
I think that, like, my wife, who knows, like, is tangentially aware of the Kendrick Drake beef just through me, was shocked that they let the A minor stuff happen and had 80,000 people saying the P word about Aubrey. And there were people who thought he wouldn't do it, or maybe he would only do a little snippet, or wouldn't do the offensive parts that labeled maybe blasphemy at Drake. But he went there, and when he just looked into the camera, my jaw dropped. Yeah. My jaw dropped. I could not believe it. Then you see Serena Kripp walk in. I couldn't believe that. Like I was sitting here like dancing in my own living room to that 3 to 5 minute stretch. So did he have the 10 to 15 minute consistent performance, banger after banger after banger? No, but I'll remember that moment more than I remember anything from the Rihanna, the Timberlakes, the whoever you want to throw. But I think the NFL has a serious problem going forward with picking halftime shows, and it's, do you go with Kendrick or Sabrina or the people who are going insanely viral? Like, thinking back about how insanely huge that Kendrick Drake beef was, like how many, I'm curious if I pull it up right now, Not Like Us, when he put it out on YouTube, had like hundreds of millions of views, right? It has 200, the music video has 239 million views. The song that he dropped before the video has 200 million views. It's just a still picture on there. I don't think people realize how big that Kendrick Drake feud like was, and how
just won the song of the year.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, I don't think people that are just in their little football bubble that maybe don't watch the Grammys, and I'm not even like the biggest, music guy listening to all this new types of stuff, but it was a cultural event, this whole Kendrick Lamar Drake beef, and for it to kind of for it to end basically at the Super Bowl. I think that's what the NFL looked at as, this is going to be kind of another viral moment here. Do you do that, or do you do the Billy Joel, John Mayer, AC/DC?
Throw everyone a bone is what you're saying. It's
not everyone. It's the 40. It's the 40 plus demographic, really.
Yeah, it's more of like the Venn diagram does involve more when you do go down that route versus Kendrick, obviously.
I think the biggest thing is that we don't have people who are just universally famous anymore.
No, like, it's crazy. But just real quick, it's up to Jay-Z. They handed over the keys to the castle to him. So that's why he's really hitting this gas pedal and putting these guys out there. And again, Rihanna was pregnant. So, and look, she even said it herself that she couldn't be running around. I mean, she was really pregnant too. So it's not like I have to but Rihanna couldn't give you that full throttle halftime performance. And I thought that she was a great call. I don't remember the Justin Timberlake, to your point. Like, I don't remember
anything
was
about okay.
That. Yeah. No, Usher was great. Usher was great. Yeah, Usher was great. Usher was great.
I don't remember much.
Dr. Dre was a home run for me. And that
was good.
That was incredible, So it's like, we'll see. Look, I think you have the Taylor Swift effect. If she wants to eventually do it, she just pick and choose whenever you want. The Bay Area, Metallica would be interesting. They have that's San Francisco. That's them people, man. Like, if you care about that, then that would be a good time. And if you don't, then you're never going to go down that path. I don't think they would. But
I don't think Metallica does anything for my age group.
Nah. It would be a rock show though.
Hey, like I love Oasis. Let's go to
Oh
London,
wait,
have a Super Bowl
I
there, and
said
do Oasis.
Oasis.
But
I
I
said
don't think
Oasis on Monday. I did. I said Oasis would be an interesting band to kick the tires on for an upcoming Super Bowl if they're back together.
the no-brainer to me, again, another like Oasis is probably my favorite band of all time. My second favorite band of all time is Blink 182. Does Blink cross over into the like?
Maroon 5 did it.
I
So
was out on that.
that's all you have to say. It's like, wait a minute, if we're really going down the path of who can and who can't, and all love and respect, because they do have some songs, but come on, man, like
Yeah,
Maroon
yeah.
5 did it. So anybody can really do it. It's just, what are you trying to aim for? Look, in the Kendrick deal, like you said, even though, in my opinion, it wasn't for everyone, and I think a lot of us can agree with that, and there were plenty
Yeah.
of people that were older that were going, okay, I'm going to the refrigerator. Bottom line is, if you care about the numbers, you care about the metrics, it peaked higher than the Super Bowl itself.
Really?
Like the
Wow.
numbers, the stats that are out there, it's just crazy. So like everything's a home run, everything's a win. Like you said, the Drake, the cultural stuff, it's like Serena, the stuff that continues to get picked out. Like maybe there might be something found a month from now that people are like, oh my God, that reincarnates another take, whatever it may be. So if that's what they wanted, they hit a home run on it. They hit a home run on it. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, quickly on this, we'll end because we got to talk some hoops. I'm going to the Villanova and St. John's game coming on our airwaves. 5:30 pregame coverage right here on The Gambler. John Jansen back in studio. Ryan Fannin and Whitey Rigsby on the call. Heading to the main line tonight with beef. Mark Henry Jr. with no voice still 5 days later.
Go Birds!
Yeah, go Birds. So college hoops tonight. It's the first game on the card. The Johnnies are 2.5-point favorites, 139.5. Any letdown from St. John's coming off of that big victory over the weekend? Or is this a spot that Villanova just doesn't have the firepower to hang with the Red Storm here?
Yeah, it's actually more about St. John's to me than it is about Villanova. I totally fully believe in this St. John's team. Not just tonight. They're my best bet tonight. One of my favorite bets of the college basketball season at St. John's -2.5. But in my opinion, I tweeted it out today. And I was talking about Bama. I think Bama is the best team in the country, as I was talking about last night. But there's a clear top four, whatever way you want to order them personally. Bama, Duke, Auburn, Houston. I think those are the four best teams. Outside of those four teams, there is not a team in the country that I'm taking over St. John's to make a run in the tournament, to maybe even win the whole darn thing. I think this St. John's team, the defense, the way that they're playing, the way that they have guards who can go get it, they have guys who can go rebound the ball, block shots. In the last Beef tweeted out, in their 10-game winning streak, they're only allowing 61.5 points per game. In that stretch, one of my favorite things to do now that we're in the full college basketball season, Bar Torvik, that website, you can go. It's basically KenPom. They have their own little differences with their efficiency rankings, but you can enter in a date, and it tells you in the last since January 1st, this team's actually been the 7th best team. If you look at the full season, they're the 15th best, but you can shrink the sample sizes. If you look at in 2025, during this 10-game win streak for St. John's, they are the number one defense at 83.5 defensive efficiency. Number two is at 87.8. They're 4.3 points behind in defensive efficiency, the number one team in the country, which is St. John's defensively. They're 80th on offense in that stretch. So this is not an offense that's going to come out and put up 100 and, run you off the floor that way. But they're going to put you in a chokehold, and they're going to win that. They're going to control the game. They're going to get up by 10, and they're never going to get up by less than 6 in a lot of these games, it feels like. I just think, we can talk all we want about Patino and the Olive Garden, but you look at what he did at Iona and completely turning that team from like a 4-win team to a potential tournament team. And then what he's done at St. John's, I think this guy, he's still got it, clearly.
Yeah, it was spit soda everywhere. Yes. The Olive Garden. I forgot about that. Yes. Yeah, look, we know the history with them. There's no denying that he is one of the best coaches in college hoops. And I think you could even make the case that he's the best coach. But again, we'll see what happens tonight, though. Looking forward to it. Anything else on your college hoops card as you're hitting hot in the hoops game right now?
Yeah, the one other college hoops play I have is a little bit of a hunch play. I've been fading Notre Dame. This Notre Dame team under Micah Shrewsbury, who came from Penn State, who I like as a coach, but they are just bad on defense. The metrics actually like Notre Dame more than I do, but you look at the last 3 games, they lost to a bad Miami team, lost to a bad Florida State team, and then they lost at home as a 7.5-point favorite to a bad Virginia Tech team. I think that got their 3rd win in the ACC in that game. I don't think they should be a 5.5-point favorite on the road against anybody. So give me Boston College just as a hunch play. I don't even know much about Boston College. I don't think they're all that good, to be honest. But they have the same record as Notre Dame. I don't think they're 5.5 points worse. Or I should say that I don't think Notre Dame's 5.5 points better than anybody in the ACC. My other favorite play on the card, though, tonight is the Lakers. I think you've got to just keep hammering this Lakers run. And it's not just the Luka LeBron stuff. Look at how good they've been in general lately. They're 10-1-1 against the spread in their last 12 games. They've covered 6 in a row, winning games by 27, 10, 25, 16, beating the Knicks on the road, beating the Clippers on the road, handling the Warriors, handling the Pacers. Like, it wasn't just the Jazz game with Luka. Like, even the game, I think it was either the Warriors or the Pacers game on Saturday that ESPN put in prime time. Then Luka sits, LeBron sits, and they show up and they were up 20 on the Pacers without Luka or LeBron. I'm on the we've been arguing in the group chat a little bit. People were trying to trade Austin Reeves. I think he might be the most underrated player in basketball. I think he might be a top 40, top 35 guy. He's averaging 19 and 7. He's shooting like 40% from 3 or something crazy on a volume amount of attempts. I think he's the perfect guy you want playing off of Luka and LeBron at that guard spot, being able to spot up and shoot.
Well, look, there's a lot of games to choose from, including the 76ers, which we're not going to waste a minute on after that performance last night. No Joel Embiid tonight. Thank God, just shut him down already. But they're 3-point favorites on the road against Brooklyn. Toronto at one point in time was 1-15 on the road. 1-15 on the road. They were 9.5-point dogs, and they came in and won that game last night. Just disgusting. But
they're missing Pirtle. They're missing RJ Barrett. They're missing like half their starting lineup, and did that. It's a joke.
It really is. It's we can't waste time on it because we got so much positive going on this week that it's like not even worth mentioning. But I do like the Lakers. I'm with you on that one. I believe it's the final game for them heading into the All-Star break. So another spot to get Luka comfortable in that rotation. He'll be on a minutes restriction, I believe, again tonight, 30, whatever. Still, they're 8.5-point favorites tonight on the road in Utah. 235 is our total. Great stuff, Mark, across the board. You can catch him on Saturday. We do have a Villanova game on Saturday. You know what time it is?
I don't.
You're good. Villanova's at 6:00. So Mark Henry Jr. and his entirety coming up on 7 to 1 p.m. right here on The Gambler. I'll be back live tomorrow. Brand new daily ticket. And just for the people, Friday, we will be we'll be setting up shop. We are going to be at what the hell is it? City Wine House? I apologize. In Logan Square. Why am I drawing a blank on it?
City Tap, Sean Bernard said.
City Tap. All right, so we're at City Tap. Yeah, I'll put it in the group chat too. But we're at City Tap all morning long. Buster from Q102 is going to be there. iHeartRadio is going to be there. We'll be at City Tap House from basically 9 in the morning all the way through the parade. It's a great spot. We're going to be setting up shop, doing videos, doing content. I am not going to be going live there, but we will be recording somewhat of a podcast, just creating some serious content. So come on by. That's number one. Into the evening, day-night doubleheader. Some of the Gambler Gang will be there. Some of iHeartRadio will be there. It's going to be a long day. We know what we're up against, the odds. With that being said, we are going to be at PJ Willihan's in Wynwood. Wow, I'm just bad. I should have this written down. Wynwood, which is by City Avenue, 2.5 miles from our studio. So PJ Willihan's. We'll put everything on socials. But Friday, if you're going to be out and about, we'll be at City Tap House to start the bad boy all day in the morning. Parade, rocking out there. Great location. over to PJ's for the nightcap, and I look forward to it as always. Look forward to this hit, Mark. Good luck on those plays. Don't touch that dial. More Daily Ticket coming your way. And then at 5:30, ladies and gentlemen, 5:30, St. John's and Villanova coming your way. Catch it right here on The Gambler. If you miss anything, foxphlgambler.com.